Hey everybody, my name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. I wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of The Morning Show. I'm the creator, the producer, and the host of the show. We want you to check out our website. It's themorningshowwithnatalie.com. You can go to that website. You can see all about our sponsors, all about the show. You can even listen to live episodes while they're going on right there from the website. Another way to listen to the show live is go to Live 365. You can download that app and just search for The Morning Show. It's right there. Super easy. We want you to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you will. That way you can keep up with what's going on The Morning Show. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
My name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. You are listening to The Morning Show. It's Throwback Thursday. It's the first Throwback Thursday of 2023. We wanted to start out the year pretty big, so we have called in a legend. And anyone who knows him, they love him. He's one of the greats, and I can't wait for you to meet him. He's right here with us. Nick Bruno. Good morning, Mr. Bruno.
Hey, Natalie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've been looking forward to this. This is a true delight for us to have you on The Morning Show.
Well, I don't know about the legend stuff. I've just been doing what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I've said this on the show before, but you truly are one of my favorite people, and meeting you in person at the National Quartet Convention was a highlight for me at the NQC. I met you and your wife, and she's just as beautiful as you are, and that was a treat for me to get to meet you, too. I was pretty fascinated.
Yeah. Well, we enjoyed meeting you, too, and Cece enjoyed meeting you as well. She's been my faithful companion for a long time, and you all two are both beautiful. Let's put it that way.
Well, I was taken with her. She stole my heart right away. I can see why she captured yours a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
She's
We've
delightful.
been married a long time, but I don't like to admit it. You know.
Well, you both still look terrific. That's a fact.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Bruno, you've been a dominant figure in this industry for a long time, and you've been on stage and performed with the best of the best. You have forgotten more about singing gospel music and performing gospel music than I will ever know. It would take the entire day just to highlight your journey and your career. But just to start things off, I'll just mention that you grew up in a preacher's family, I believe in New York State. And that in and of itself is interesting because New York's not really known for being just really a bed for gospel music. That's kind of unusual right there. But you grew up in this, and it's been your entire life. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick story? Because you're exactly right about the fact that Southern gospel music was not really prevalent in my youth, being in New York City. But when I graduated from high school, I went to a Bible college in Pennsylvania, which was really not too far from Philadelphia. And I'll try to make this brief. I had a good friend who lived in Philadelphia, so on a weekend he decided to invite me to his house for the weekend, which we did. And on Saturday there was a quartet concert at Town Hall in Philadelphia. Me being from New York City, I thought maybe it was, like Frankie Valli or the hip hop. I didn't know. So he said, it's a quartet concert. You'll enjoy it. Well, I'll get to the end real quick. We went to this concert, and the groups that were singing there were the Eastman Quartet, the Weatherford Quartet, the Couriers, and the Blackwood Brothers. And so all my life I had trained musically, but at that point in Bible college, I really didn't know what to do with it. But that moment in time, that concert settled everything for me, and I was hooked.
That was it. That was
it. Yep.
It'll happen that way.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about a specific group, and I don't know that you spent a lot of time with them. I have no idea. But I ran across this in my research of your career. It was a group called the Rebels. Now, I don't know. I think that was before my time. I was born in 1978. So I never experienced this group, but I was always fascinated with Jim Hamill. And I think he was a part of the group, and maybe Mr. Booth, the Papa Booth, Daddy Booth of Ronnie and him. Were you a part of the Rebels? Tell me a little bit about that group, because that interests me a lot.
Yeah, I was part of that group. Prior to that, this is another interesting story. I hope I'm not boring you with these stories.
That's what we want to hear. So we want to hear your story.
Okay, so I was with the Keystone Quartet, which also had Joe Bonsall and Richard Sturban in it for a long time. We were together. But we were, at the time, living in Buffalo, New York, working out of Buffalo. And in Cleveland, there was a gospel concert. So my wife and I drove over to Cleveland, and one of the groups that were there was the Rebels. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Taylor was the piano player for the Rebels. So before the concert in the hotel, all the groups were kind of gathered together, and I got to sit down and play for kind of a group song, everyone. And I didn't realize it, but Jimmy Taylor was scouting me to be his replacement.
And you didn't even know it?
I didn't have a clue. So anyway, the long story short, they offered me to come to Cleveland and audition, and they offered me to come to the hotel in Cleveland and talk about joining the group. Well, here's the interesting part of this story. My friend Joe Mascao was the piano player for the Imperials at the time. Mm-hmm. And so while we were sitting in the restaurant at the hotel, I got a phone call. The maitre d' came and said, "Mr. Bruno, there's a call for you." And it was Joe Mascao. And Joe was offered me a job in the Imperials to replace him.
Wow.
So I came back I came back to the table sitting with the Rebels, and they said, "Well, who was that?" I said, "It was Joe Mascao. He just offered me a job." And they said, "Well, how much did he offer you?" And I told them. They said, "Well, we'll match it."
Wow.
And so anyway, that happened 3 times, and I often thank Joe Mascao through the years. He got me a $200 raise.
You mentioned the Imperials. We had Terry Blackwood on our show not too long ago, reminiscing about some good old days. You were friends with Terry, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
He told some good stories too. Talked a lot about Elvis their days.
Yeah. I was with the Stamps Quartet about almost 2 weeks when we signed on to be the background group for Elvis.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. And you mentioned J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. You spent some time with them. Now, that's a legendary name right there, J.D. Sumner. Even people who were not raised in this and they haven't kept up with it for decades, a lot of people know that name, J.D. Sumner. Yeah. You know, they know that.
Sure.
So I want to know about your time with J.D. Sumner, and I want to hear some of your Elvis stories because we're fascinated with it.
Okay. Well, as I said, a couple of weeks after I joined the group, we were very fortunate in that the Imperials were his backup group. But they had signed on with another artist, let's just say, and they couldn't get out of their contract in time to fulfill the next deal with Elvis. So that's how we got the job. And but anyway, my job there was to help with the arrangements, play in the suite. That's mostly what we did. After all the concerts, we all went up to the Elvis's suite and sang gospel music all night. Mm, yeah. And so that's mostly what my job was. And we had some really interesting times there. It was interesting, but I'll tell you one quick story. We were there one evening, and Elvis wanted J.D. to sing one of his low songs. And the secular world, they didn't have much experience with people who sang low like J.D. did. Mm-hmm. And so we gathered around the piano, and Elvis and J.D. were across from me. I was just sitting playing, and they were looking over my head. And some people started to gather closer, and they started to lean on me to get in closer to hear J.D. sing the low notes. Mm-hmm. And they actually were pressing me in, some of them. There were, at that point, 3 people leaning on me, one on my left shoulder and one on my right shoulder. and one over my head, and they were just trying to get close and close. And so anyway, the song was over, and I looked up. On my right shoulder was Frank Sinatra.
Oh my goodness.
On my left shoulder was Dean Martin.
Wow.
And the person over top of my head was Sammy Davis Jr.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it.
We can't even comprehend it. We can't. Imagine those people being at the same place at the same time, but you being in the center of it.
Yeah.
That's just unbelievable. Wow.
Well, the backstory on all that was, at that moment in time was when I made the decision to quit, because I didn't feel like that's where God wanted me to be.
Yeah. Wow.
So I didn't quit at that moment, but that's when I made the decision, and that very year at the Quartet Convention, I turned in my notice, and Don Baldwin offered me a position at his recording studio back up in Pennsylvania, which I took. And it wasn't long after that Don said, there's a big singing in Asheville, North Carolina. The Kingsmen are having a big singing. Would you like to go down with me? I said, well, sure, that'd be great. And so the two of us took off in his car, and we went to this giant singing in Asheville. And while I was there, Eldridge Fox offered me a job.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I took the job with the Kingsmen, and that was about 6 years.
And the industry is better for it. We are better for that 6 years that you spent with the Kingsmen, and every year that we've had you involved in this industry ever since. We've all benefited from it. It's amazing. We hear you say this. We all wonder what it would have been like to have been there. You were there. You were there.
Yeah.
You saw it all. You experienced it. And we're pretty amazed. We're amazed that you would take the time to tell us about it on this show today.
Well, I'm happy to do it, and it's a real honor to be on your show. Don't discount for 1 minute the value that you bring to Southern gospel music by doing these interviews and your show. So you're a valuable asset to our industry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. We've got some little clips put together here of Elvis singing with J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. I'm sure that you were involved right in the middle of this. We're going to play it if it's okay with you. It's going way back. It's Elvis and the Stamps. And J.D. gets the low note right at the end. It won't be hard to hear J.D. Sumner. So let's buckle down. We've got Mr. Nick Bruno right here with us, and we'll listen to it together. Here's Elvis and J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. Here they are.
That overlooks life's sea. When my soul is tossed, it sends out a light that I might see. And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him. Jesus is a lighthouse from the rocks of sin. I remember one stormy night when just in time I saw the light. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, where would this ship be?
We do 2 shows a night for 5 weeks. A lot of times we'll go upstairs and sing until daylight. Gospel songs. We grew up with it from the time I can remember.
Produce and arrange the biggest selling album that the Kingsmen ever had. And you produced the song that held steady at number 1 for 18 months, making it the longest running number 1 song in Southern gospel music history. And we recognize Jim Hamill's voice in that fun song, Excuses, and we wait for that tenor to say, he didn't even shake my hand, and we wait for Ray Dean to sing the line about blowing that kid's nose. But you were the mind behind that. You produced it, you put it together, and we can thank Nick Bruno for that fun song, Excuses.
Well, give God the glory for that. I have a simple concept when it comes to producing, and it has to be right. It has to be right. The lyrics have to match the instrumentation, and I just really have done all these years what I feel, and it just seems that God's hand is on it, and what I feel usually comes out right.
You are responsible for giving the world of Southern gospel music hits such as Love Was in the Ring by the Booth Brothers, Shake Hands with a Poor Boy by the Kingsmen, Beulah Land by Squire Parsons. Everybody knows and loves Beulah Land. And I always loved the song I Found the Lily in My Valley by Quentin Mills. You produced that. Squire Parsons credits you for the success of his solo career. And Mark Trammell admires you so much that he named his son after you. All you have to do is Google Nick Bruno, gospel musician, and it's just not hard to see how much people admire you and respect you. And we are in that crowd, but we can't let you leave today without letting someone special here with me say something to you, because he thinks as much of you as I do. So we've got Tate Emmons right here with me, and he wants to say hello to Nick Bruno. Here's Tate.
Hey, Mr. Bruno. How you doing?
Tate, how you doing? How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm getting posters made up. Jefferson Tate Emmons for president.
Look, I'm sending the email address right over. Look, I've been watching some of your videos. I love them. On Facebook, I love them. They're awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope it helps some people, you know.
Well, you're a great teacher, and I love learning from you, and I can't wait to come meet y'all up in Nashville.
Well, you come on anytime, buddy. I got a room back there you can spend with us.
I mean, we met at the NQC, but I just want to see y'all again in Nashville.
Well, that'll be great. Maybe you can come up sometime when I'm doing a session. You can hang out with me.
Well, I'm excited. I want to do it.
Okay, buddy.
Yes,
just remember now, you keep trusting Jesus. You hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Pal. See you soon.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bruno, you could have been anywhere this morning doing anything with anybody you wanted to, but you spent it with us on the morning show, and I'll be forever grateful. I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you, Natalie. It's been a great honor to be with you.
I hope we can do it again. You have a friend on the morning show. Don't forget it, Mr. Bruno.
I won't forget it, and I appreciate you.
All right. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Tell Miss Cece I said hello.
I'll do it. God bless you.
You too.
Excuses, you'll hear them every day. Now the devil, he'll supply them if from church you stay away. When people come to know the Lord, the devil always loses. So to keep them folks away from church, he offers them excuses.
In the summer it's too hot, in the winter it's too cold. In the springtime when the weather's just right, you find someplace else to go. Well, it's up to the mountains or over to the beach or to visit some old friend, or just to stay home and relax and hope some of the kinfolks will drop in. Well, a headache Sunday morning and a backache Sunday night, but by work time Monday morning, oh, you're feeling quite all right. Well, one of the children has a cold. Pneumonia, do you suppose? While the whole family had to stay home
just to blow that poor kid's nose.
Excuses, you'll hear them every day. Now the devil, he'll supply them if from church you stay away. When people come to know the Lord, the devil always loses. So to keep them folks away from church, he offers them excuses.
Well, the preacher, he's too young, maybe he's too old. Those sermons, they're not hard enough, sometimes they get too bold. His voice is much too quiet-like, sometimes it gets too loud. He needs to have more dignity, or else he's way too proud. Well, the sermons, they're too long, maybe they're too short. He ought to preach the word now, instead of stomp and snort. Well, that preacher we've got must be the world's most stuck-up man, Well, one of the ladies told me Sunday,
why, he didn't even shake my hand.
Excuses, excuses, you'll hear them every day. Now the devil, he'll supply them if from church you stay away. When people come to know the Lord, the devil always loses. So to keep them folks away from church, he offers them excuses. So to keep them folks away from church, he offers them excuses.